addition to wagering your progression, you can also opt into wagering your cards. And this is really exciting. It's purely optional. It's kind of like playing Diablo hardcore, where when you die, you lose everything and it's
Yeah.
gone forever. And more casual players may or may not want to do this, but it's pretty cool when you can watch someone else do this from the comfort of your own living room,
Yeah.
and they're wagering like a $5,000 card or
Let's
something.
go.
And it's one of the pieces that I like to talk about, called experiential ownership. And it's the idea where you got to be able to do more than just sell it to have ownership be meaningful. And this is one of the ways we light that up. Being able to wager your cards, you have to own them first, of course.
GM everyone. I wanted to give you a quick intro to a recent Twitch session with Team Juiced and Kevin Lambert from Coin Games, where we explored everything about Project O. There was a presentation with great insights and an amazing Q&A at the end of the stream. So if you missed it or just want to catch the highlights, stay tuned. Let's dive in. GM everyone. We are here for our Project O session with Kevin Lambert and team. Hey guys, how are you doing today? Thanks for being here.
Hey, Quinto. It's great to be here. Thanks, man. Super excited to be chatting with the peeps about
Peeps.
our game.
Yeah, awesome. I've heard you guys been absolutely cooking lately with this Project O, speaking with a lot of people. Like, I mean, what I've seen about this project is absolutely amazing. I'm really excited to hear more from you guys regarding the Project O.
Well, thank you. And I just want to compliment you guys. This is by far the most professional setup we've been a part of in crypto. So thank you guys for raising the bar. I'll just give you a little background. Kevin, if you're cool, I'll just jump right in on the team background. And then obviously,
Yep.
I think most people
Yeah.
know who you are. But yeah, thanks to everyone at Paragon's DAO. So personally, I come from South Africa originally, immigrated to America, pursuing the American dream at 11 years old with my younger brother and mom. Was always a gamer, shy homeschool kid, so I played a lot of WoW and Call of Duty, and every time Halo came out, would stay up till 2 a.m. to buy it at Best Buy and then not sleep for 2 days. Or as long as I could. And so I love games, just because, I wasn't a super social kid growing up, but never thought I'd get the opportunity to be in gaming. My career took me down a path in tech sales, though. And I very quickly found kind of my home in smart home tech sales, which started as door-to-door. And I did that for about 10 years. And I was one of the top salesman in the whole country. And then I eventually went on to run teams. And so I'm 40 now, but at 37, I found myself, honestly, with a great life. I'd been able to become a multimillionaire myself and create a lot of millionaires in the process. I'd been a part of a company going public on the stock market called Vivint. I was there the day they rang the bell. I've got a photo with Ed Kramer in the background, and it had been an amazing career. But at 37, I started asking myself, like, what is there in life to go do and build? And the answer that came back is I wanted to build something of my own in the tech space. And so it happened to be that I shortly after that, found the Beeple article that many of you guys may remember, where he sold the NFT for 69 million. And that just blew my mind. And when I went down the rabbit hole, I came out the other end red pilled, like the rest of us, that gaming would change forever. And that ownership in games was just a better version of a video game than a game without ownership. And so obviously we now know Web 2, still needs a lot of convincing, but I still firmly believe that when a game does ownership the right way and collecting and that experience, and it's not just about money, even though there's room for that, but that you do it the right way, that's when you're going to onboard the masses. And so I started the process of starting the studio and those things. And that's right when I met Kevin, who, needs no introduction. Many of you guys know him, but he's brilliant. He was working at the time, leading the casual game studio inside of Microsoft. And we just bonded over the idea that in order to onboard hundreds of millions of people into Web 2, you needed a great experience, number one. And it couldn't be about just making money. That actually, if you read any of Kevin's tweets on these things, you can have a balanced economy if 95% of your people want the experience of ownership, and then 5% are there for the profit side. And so we started to form a studio, and Kevin introduced me to Brian and Mike, who became our other co-founders. They come from a really long legacy in free-to-play mobile, and we formed a great team. And so we've continued to add. Apex is actually our most recent hire. And then I don't know if this is actually changing as I'm going through it, if it's one slide behind potentially, but no, the other we go. And so we have an awesome team, and we always just like to say that we are a team that we're very good in Web 2. We have years of experience there, billions in revenue, and almost 1 billion in players total across all our games. But we also love Web 3. And so I minted the Doge Pound as my first NFT. I don't know what Kevin's first NFT was, but between our core leadership group, we've got 175 projects we've invested in personally, over 7 figures in NFTs, 800 plus mints. And so we really love this space, and we feel that our skill in building great products in Web 2 and then our passion for Web 3 uniquely suits us to build a product that will do well in both. And hopefully you'll see that today. So and then I won't spend much time on this, but we've started onboarding some great partners already on the Web 3 side. We are forming a Web 3 council, and then we're forming a gamer council, which is going to be with pro gamers from Web 2, because we think we believe you need both in order to succeed on that end. And then for anyone KOLs that are listening right now, if you are, please reach out. We are also launching, led by Apex, our creator club. We've had over 200 people apply in just the last week and a half. And so, make sure you reach out to Apex or Thayer. Maybe Alex, you can throw his info in the chat. And so our mission is quite simple, guys. We want to make the most exciting card game experience ever for the player, the collector, and the viewer. And we think there's different things that are needed to create a great experience for player, viewer, and collector. And we've got that all in one package. And then after that, we really believe in the concept of decentralized game design and empowering you guys, the fans, to build your own experiences in our game. And we don't want to go compete with Fortnite or Roblox or any of those guys, but we do want to own our little corner of the world of UGC and do it better than anyone else. And so to kind of kick things off, card games are difficult. You've got to build a great game, which Kevin will take you through the game, and we do have a great one. But you've also got to have, things that set you apart visually and allow people to catch attention, especially in Web 2. And the beginning of that is a good IP. And so, we spent a long time considering all our options of like acquiring an IP or partnering with a company and licensing an IP. And we even talked about trying to get Star Wars, which would have been fun for me since I'm a big Star Wars fan, as you can tell with the stuff in the background. But in the end, we actually landed on a freaking gold mine of reinventing myths and legends, fairy tales, myths and legends from around the world into one cohesive world. So think of a world, it's called the World of Origins, but think of a world like League of Legends where you have magic that meets tech. It's a cohesive, fun, exciting, powerful world, but it's filled with all the myths and legends from around the world. And so, we obviously have started with a lot of ones familiar here in the US, but this will expand very quickly to other cultures. There's many myths and legends and fairy tales from Asia and South America and Africa, where I'm from, that we'll include into this cohesive world. But it's a world that had access to our world, hence why Earth, knows the story of Winnie the Pooh or Queen of Hearts or Puss in Boots or Wukong or whatever it is. But those characters are being reinvented, and we're actually introducing you to the real characters. Earth stories have faded over thousands of years, and this is the real Winnie the Pooh. He's the cage fighting champion of the World of Origins. He's big, he's badass, he's awesome. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got Queen of Hearts, the beautiful Queen of Hearts that had a lot of haters here on Earth because of her beauty, and so they made up some stories about her. And so anyway, there's a really fun cast of characters, and you're going to get to collect these characters. And so they have instant nostalgia, but they're reimagined in fun ways, like Humpty Dumpty, our kingpin gangster, or the not so little Little Pigs, and on down the line, Billy the Kid, Cheshire, and many others. And so it's a really fun world. It's also a cool art style that hopefully you like.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of feedback recently that there's a lot of people who love this kind of more fun cartoon style.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, when you look at games that have um, aged well or better than others, the sometimes the more cartoony style actually ages well, better. Look at Hearthstone. It's quite old, but it still actually looks quite good. And so we've taken that approach. And then yeah, just inspiration from the latest movies, like Into the Spider-Verse and such. And then we're doing some things with the cards, which I'll have Kevin talk about. So yeah, let me tag Kevin in to talk through the game.
Yeah. I think a lot of you guys know who I am, but for those of you who don't, Kevin been designing games for almost 30 years now. Worked on Solitaire and I love TCGs. In fact, I play Parallel every day, and I'm on the ladder slinging it out with folks in the Paragon Stout every day. My player name on the Parallel ladder is Ori, Ori. So if you've seen me on ladder, that's me. Um, and so I will tell you a little bit about our game. It's there's a lot of games that are in the TCG space, and what's interesting is that when you look at the spectrum of them, they're either really complicated and hardcore from my perspective. So like Magic the Gathering up in that area and Runeterra. Um, and then you come down in the complexity scale and you get games like Hearthstone. Then you come way down in the complexity scale and you get games like Pokemon and Snap. And what's interesting about those is it kind of matches with how competitive they are as well. So like, can you imagine 100,000 people getting together in an arena to watch the Marvel Snap World Championship match, traveling for that? Like, that would be kind of hard because the game is so simple. It's really easy to wrap your head around. It's great, but like the skill ceiling is a little lower. And it's kind of hard to imagine that. In contrast, they have the Magic Pro Tour and all of those, and people do travel all the way around the world for those tournaments. So we saw a gap in the middle in both complexity and in the accessibility and the competitive scene that just it doesn't really seem to hit, and we wanted to try to fill that. So kind of between Hearthstone and Snap in complexity, and kind of between Magic and Pokemon in competitiveness. And so I knew that we go to the card slide. I knew that if we were going to try to evolve TCGs, which is a very tall order, but we need to take a swing at it. The very first thing we needed to do is evolve the cards. And you guys have probably seen me tweet about this. Um, so the cards have to be evolved. If you look at card games over the last 10 years, they're all flat two-dimensional JPEGs. Some of them are very pretty. Some of them have 3D pictures inside them, like Parallel. Some of them have little effects around the edges, but really they're all flat. And so I really wanted to try an experiment where we lifted the cards out of the page by adding some dimensionality. And you can see a little bit of that here. Marvel Snap tried this by putting the little names out in front, but you can't really turn the cards all the way around. So in our game, you can spin the cards all the way around. They're 3D objects. You can play with them, and there's this layering that happens as well. And so we're gonna try to evolve the cards visually, and then kind of how we achieve our goals here is that um, uh, we're cross-platform, so we're mobile and we're PC. And the first thing that we did when we were prototyping the game was simultaneous turns. In fact, we spent a year trying to make Teamfight Tactics more casual because that game was really fun to us, and the action and the pacing was really good. But we couldn't quite do that with the full action, so we blended in a TCG, and we really wanted to get the pacing right. So when you have simultaneous turns, if any of you guys have played Marvel Snap, you know that you can get a lot of actions and choices in a very short time, and it's so much better than at a slower pace. So our sessions are short. We're currently clocking in at around 7 to 9 minutes per match. And in those short games, you can actually do quite a lot. So there's very little downtime. So rather than waiting for your opponent to play while and they're playing, and you have to play with a fidget spinner or poker chips, hashtag Lammy series. What you're drawing your cards, playing your turn, then everything reveals, and then there's a very quick combat phase that's auto battle, but very, very digestible. And the pacing feels really good, especially for people who don't have a lot of downtime. The younger generation is a little more
Yeah.
active in games, and one of their biggest complaints is like, oh my God, I just have to wait, and the waiting sucks. We did a demo of our prototype of our pre-alpha to Immutable, one of the chains we're talking to, and they said, "Man, your pacing is one of the best things about the game." So that was very good validation. Um, so we can go to the next slide. The second ingredient is what we call accessibility, but with strategic depth. So we have a 12 card deck, but you get 2 copies automatically of the 12 cards you put in it, and then you get 1 legendary card. So it's almost like a 30 card Hearthstone deck with all of the depth that brings, but you only had to choose 12 cards to make it, so you can make it in 45 seconds, and then your 1 legendary that you build your deck around. So no game has really ever done this before, and it's one of the bigger ways we're trying to achieve that accessibility and strategic depth hybrid. We also have hundreds of locations, and that is inspired by board games and games like Marvel Snap, and they get shuffled every game. So with that combination, you could play the same deck against the same opponent tens and tens and tens of times, or even 100 times, and every game is going to feel fresh because you're solving the puzzle of how to maximize your deck with the locations that you rolled for that game. And there is things that let you manipulate those during the game. And then most TCGs have like 3 or 4 canned emotes or stickers like GG, um, you know, greetings from Mars, right? They're like there's a few of those, and they're very powerful, but we really wanted to lean into the social, like a stronger social experience with a little bit more surface area for limited edition collectibles and brand collaborations. And so we have a 3D board, we have 3D cards, we have a 3D environment already. We wanted to bring in true 3D commanders for this. And they're not just little guys who run around on the board like a pet or a tactician in Teamfight Tactics. They actually cast your spells, they execute your remotes, they do your teabagging for you, and they're actually the objective of the match. You're trying to kill the opponent commander, and you don't attack them directly, but you're kind of take down 2 out of the 3 locations, and that gives you access to do a collectible killing blow on the commander, and you can get cool ones of those. And then the icing on the cake of how we approach this poker-like excitement of high stakes and high intensity play is with high stakes. So one of our product pillars is that the game has to be fun to watch. A lot of people think that if the game is fun to play, then it will be fun to watch. But those of you guys who play a lot of games and watch games on Twitch know that that is not necessarily the case. You can have a game that is awesome, but it's just really hard to digest and watch on Twitch. So we're putting in features that really make the watchable experience good. And I've only heard one other game in Web3 say that, and that's Paul Bettner's Wild Card, and they're approaching this a little different than we are. But the game has to be fun to watch and has to be exciting to watch, and so we're putting things in like that. And so in our game, like you guys may recall in Marvel Snap, they have the Snap feature, and that's pretty fun because you can like double the stakes and victory points of a match. But the problem with that is that the only thing you can do if your opponent snaps you is quit or play it out and risk those victory points, right? And there really is no option where like I just kind of wanted to play it out and see what he had and if he could beat me. And the viewing experience is kind of crappy too, where the streamer will be like, guys, I'm gonna stay in, but I know I'm gonna lose just for you guys, and it makes it awkward. So we have a feature that's inspired by that, where it's a little more like throwing down a gauntlet, and your opponent can pick it up or not, and he can come over the top with you, and you can do that a few times. So that should be fun without the downside of like, oh, I have to quit now because I think I'm gonna lose, which sucks. And in addition to wagering your progression, you can also opt into wagering your cards, and this is really exciting. It's purely optional. It's kind of like playing Diablo Hardcore, where when you die, you lose everything and it's
Yeah.
gone forever. And more casual players may or may not want to do this, but it's pretty cool when you can watch someone else do this from the comfort of your own living room,
Yeah.
and they're wagering like a $5,000
Let's
card or something.
go.
Exactly. Like it's one of the pieces that I like to talk about called experiential ownership. And it's the idea where you got to be able to do more than just sell it to have ownership be meaningful. And this is one of the ways we light that up. Being able to wager your cards, you have to own them first, of course. Um, and another feature that we are kind of still deep in the kitchen on is for viewers and players and streamers is a way that where you can bet like social tokens on the outcome of matches, but we're still working through like the legal parts of that, so we can talk about it a little bit later. And then the last thing here that I'll mention about the game, and then we can talk about it much more if you guys have questions, is that our team comes from like decades of experience in mobile gaming and monetization loops and user acquisition. So we really know how to cook that and make it work. And we wanted to innovate that a little bit here. And most TCGs that you see out there, they have packs and cards, and you buy them, and the speed at which you collect all the cards is really the speed at which you're willing to pull out your wallet and do that, right? And so we wanted to try something that I call daily quests on steroids. So rather than like, win 5 games with Rogue or cast 60 spells, we wanted to have a little mini game like experience, not a full mini game, but just like something to string your matches together, where there's some decisions, and you can go this way or that way, and you acquire moves, and you can just picture like a Slay the Spire board or like a Monopoly Go board. And it's also something we can add monetization to, because we won't let you skip, since you're not buying packs, you're progressing through a journey of collecting all of the cards, and you can pay if you want to accelerate that progression. You don't have to, but you can't skip it. You can't shortcut it. You can't buy every card immediately. So there's a journey, and our hypothesis is that players will enjoy that, much like they do looking forward to getting cool weapons in an RPG, or things in an action game. So let me pass it back over to Tim to tell you about our collector experience, which I think you'll find pretty exciting as well.
Thanks, Kevin. So yeah, a lot of us come from a background of physical card games. Kevin actually was kind of semi-pro in the game that was the precursor to Hearthstone in physicals. And so, if you've ever experienced collecting cards, there's like a joy in going after rare variants of cards. My kids and I are collecting a game called Star Wars Unlimited, and I'm on the quest to get a full master set, which has like 4 variants of every type of card, and it's a in the Star Wars IP. And so, when you experience the dopamine of ripping open a pack and getting that card, and then knowing that there's a limited print, and then they're going to retire, the alpha set or whatever it is, like they did in Magic, there's just nothing that really compares to that, along with like chasing these rare variants and that dopamine hit of pulling that 1 in 1,000 card or whatever it is. And a lot of that was really lost, all of it, when card games transitioned from physical to digital. And even though competition got elevated to a whole nother level, and I can play anyone anywhere in the world, I lost, part of the soul of the collector experience. And so we want to bring that back into digital, starting with what we would call limited print cards. And so just think for a second, the alpha set inside of Magic, where they printed only X amount and then they retired that set. They continued to keep the characters and they tweaked the art a little bit. And then it started the beta set. And then eventually that got retired and it went to the unlimited set. In digital, the way we want to do this is letting you get your cards, and there's almost a race for every gamer to get their card fully upgraded and leveled up to get it to become a limited edition collectible, which obviously for those Web3 folks, that means it's an NFT. But there's this race to get it in the alpha set. So it starts off with upgrading your cards. So your cards start out as a generic card, and the card itself is just has a basic border, basic background, basic nameplate, basic card effect. And then as you level the card up, you roll a new element in it, and it can roll any rarity. So it's a take on what Marvel Snap has in their cosmetic progression, but it's far, I think, better in the sense that I can roll on that very first roll, I can roll the most rare effect, a mythic border or a mythic background. And it might even be a background that has a limited use. So once X amount of cards have unlocked that effect, it's retired forever from the game, truly making your cards very unique. And there's millions of combinations just between these categories. And at the end of the progression, I'm then given the option to turn my unlimited card into a limited print card, aka the alpha set or the beta set, depending on how early I am in upgrading my card. And so let's say you're in the first, and I'm just making up numbers now, first 10,000 players to get their card upgraded all the way to level 6, and then they turn it in that limited collectible. You are part of the alpha set. And then once it's 10,001, it becomes the beta set all the way up to card number 100,000 or whatever it is, and then on down the line. And so everyone's in this race to make their card not only unique, but even more collectible by being early, getting card number 001 or 002 or 003 or whatever it is. And we love this experience because it mirrors a very familiar experience from card games and card collecting with the concept of grading your cards. So again, if you're familiar with collecting physical cards and you've done this before with 20 million other people every year, you send that card off to be graded, and then they give it a grade based on its centering or its colors or the corners. In our world, we grade the card, but instead of the rarity being based on the physical characteristics of the card, it's based on the rarity of the components that you rolled. So if you rolled a frame with a 5% rarity, or a background with a 50% rarity, or even a card effect with a 2% rarity, those combinations make up the total rarity of your card and would rank you on a leaderboard. And so someone will own the most rare, Dorothy out there. And so this is kind of a collector's dream. We're good friends with Grail, and he's come on as advisor in our brand. And he just talked about the idea of, like, as a collector, being able to collect the most rare cards that are out there. And when you do this as a Web2 player, you're not only making your card more unique. We make it full art when it becomes when it goes on chain. We have a bit different battle animation. You get the rarity score, but you also start to unlock other experiences that you can only have if you're playing or using an on-chain or a limited collectible. And those are like high stakes play. So like Kevin talked about, you can only interact with the high stakes mode if you have cards to wager, and they have to be collectibles to do that. Number two, it enables the collector score, which is your score that fits into kind of this battle pass style collecting ecosystem. And then the last thing, and there'll be many more, but the last big one is what we call on-chain stories. And so we explain it like this, owning a Jordan jersey is awesome, right? We all love Jordan, or unless you're a LeBron fan, but if a regular Jordan jersey, that's awesome, but a jersey specifically that Jordan himself wore in a game or in a finals game is a whole different level of collectible or awesome. And we as humans, we collect things for monetary reasons and for sentimental reasons. And so that's why we want to enable stories in the cards themselves. And so think of it this way, where I go play as a player, and as I win a tournament, or as I rank in an event, or I go on a 20-play win streak, or whatever it is, that metadata starts to compile in the card itself. For a Web2 player, I'm now falling more in love with my card, which is fundamentally very important if you're trying to build a balanced economy that involves Web3 and Web2, because a lot of games transparently right now, they're struggling. One, because likely they'll never be able to onboard Web3 because they're Web2 players, because they're putting Web3 at the front of the game. But even if they were able to onboard people, they're onboarding them with the idea of monetization. They're like, listen, you can make this much money if you come over to the Web3 side of our fence. The problem with that is that you train every one of your players to play for money. And that's unsustainable in any economic situation. If everyone is in it to make money, no one ends up making money. But if you have a balanced economy where 95% of your people are there for the experience and 5% are there for the profit or the speculation or the collection side, you can balance that, especially if the one feeds into the other. And that's what we've done. We've designed an economy that gets Web 2 players to embrace ownership because of the experience around ownership. And then Web 3 players come in and they get to do the speculative collecting side and have a lot of fun doing that. And so, cards could also be rented out to pro players. And when they play with them, that goes in the metadata. So there's so many applications of this. And then you can obviously, inspect the cards and see that provenance. And so finally, with that whole experience, we finish up with a full kind of competitive collecting leaderboard experience. And so just imagine a battle pass for collecting. So I come in, like the Pokemon game, I immediately see that there's this card collection of 150 cards that I want, and I'm going to collect most of them anyway in the kind of journey collection experience that Kevin and his team has designed. So instead, now I'm incentivized to not only collect all the cards, but to bring those cards on chain so I can engage in high stakes play. I can have my cards collecting my stories. I get the better art and the visuals. And I start unlocking all these premium cosmetics, variants, emotes, emojis, skins, you name it, a bunch of really cool stuff by having collectible cards instead of unlimited cards. And so we're really introducing the Web 2 player to ownership in a way that he loves it. He wants to do it. He loves the feel of owning these things, but he's not worried about, am I going to sell this for more money than I put into it? And so we believe this is the foundation of a great game that will win in Web 2 and Web 3. The two come together nicely. And then I'll briefly say, for those of you that are on the Web 3 side, we are going to have a small, kind of very limited access window with cards that are native to Web3 that will become we'll call it the seats at the table to this kind of collect, upgrade, compete, and earn experience. And so just think of it as PvP collecting. It's like collecting versus the other collectors. And the higher you rank on the leaderboard, the bigger your rewards are. We'll have more details in the future. There'll be two kind of like public sales for this where we'll sell out the entire supply of these cards. And those will be the access points to the game. So this is not going to be dilutive where anyone can participate. There will be kind of limited seats into this game, and we really believe that is a must in order to protect it for the people that come in early, but also to balance it again where you don't have everyone in the game just looking for profit. So if you are the type that loves collecting and you love the idea of speculating, you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned and kind of work your way in. And I will give you a quick hint for those of you that like this idea. The campaign that starts next week is the preseason that will set you up on a whitelist and everything to get to participate in this kind of PvP collecting experience once the game goes live and we do our first big tournament, next year. And so if you are into this stuff, most of you guys probably collect parallels, so I'm sure you're going to be able to get access to this preseason event that starts soon. So make sure you're following our Twitter and you are,
free.
in the
It's
Discord and all that.
free.
And it's
We're
free.
not
Yeah, yeah.
selling anything, and there's no
Yeah.
grind. You don't have to grind quests or follows or anything like that. It's super easy.
Yeah, and so the preseason is going to be really easy, really fun. It's really to welcome in the first wave of people, and we wanted to party with the collectors. And so again, if you own any of the NFTs on our kind of preferred list, which is about 150 collections, obviously Parallel is one of them, you will get access to the campaign, and you can kind of work your way up by referring people and getting rewards, and you'll set yourself up nicely for the coming season as well as this PvP collecting experience. So. And then finally, our last kind of asset just to mention that is coming, and this is part of the campaign as well. And then privately, there'll be options for some of you guys that qualify for this, is we were inspired by some of the guys out there that have really taken Web3 and pushed it to its limits of what it can do. A lot of games out there promise to be this very like decentralized, let's all build together experience, but they fall short of that in reality. But we wanted to extend that to you guys with a really cool collectible called a blueprint. And so we call this our most collectible item in the game. It's a fully playable card. but it's cool because it's only a supply of 100. So per character, there's 100 of these, and each character is its own mini collection. So the way you would look at it is Winnie the Pooh or Cheshire or Marion, they're each their own little collection. And you, if you own one of these, you and 99 other people are essentially the collective owners of that IP and that character. And then through that, you can play with these cards. It's the ultimate flex, because when you put down that card on the board and your opponent plays the same card but a derivative, he knows, man, you own that character. You and 99 others somewhere in the world own, Billy the Kid, and I just played a Billy the Kid card against one of the owners of Billy the Kid. So I think that alone is super cool. But beyond the collectible side and the playable side, you also have this IP ownership aspect, and that allows us to share with you in some of the on-chain royalties that are associated with any derivative of that character. So this expands to all cards in the game with the character that you own. And so basically, if you own Cheshire and there's a slabbing event or an upgrade event with tokens, or even a sale event with on-chain royalties, we can bring some of that back to these collectors. And so we'll have more details about this as we get closer to this. There is going to be an opportunity to win these in this upcoming campaign, which might for some be the only chance they get to have them, because this will likely be done mostly privately. But we will be raffling off one full character, so 100 blueprints during this time. And so again, make sure you're early in the campaign. You're inviting as many of your friends. If they own any of the 150 collections on kind of the whitelist, get in the Discords and get people to link their wallets. And the more people that interact that you bring in using your code, the more raffle tickets you get, and you have a higher chance of winning one of these super exclusive collectibles. So and then finally, just to wrap this up, because I got to bounce in 10 minutes, Kevin and the guys can stay on, though, is our vision for UGC in the future. And so, we're really passionate about the idea of empowering the next generation of game designers and creators to create. And as human beings, we're born, we're given the gift by God to go create and be creative in some way. And for many, they want to create inside of video games. And, I always dreamed of being a part of a game studio, and my dream has come true, right? After many years of hard work in a whole different industry and becoming the best, I was able to start a studio with other great people. But we want to extend that passion and that feeling to the community, and we want to do it through UGC tools. And so the first one that we want to focus on is the card creator. And so if you go, many of you guys might even be a part of this, but if you go to any of the large communities out there, you'll find that Magic has a custom card community, Yu-Gi-Oh, Hearthstone, Marvel Snap, with hundreds of thousands of members that spend all day just talking about cards that they wish they could create. And we want to be the first game to deliver that experience by delivering a card creator, where you can go in and you can upload your own art. You can tweak the stats on any card in the game. You can mess with the functions, or even combine functions, or come up with new ones. We can pre-list a function that's coming out for an expansion in 6 months in the card creator, and actually let the community submit ideas to us that could get put in the game and give you guys actual creator credit for the first time for an actual card made by a fan inside the core game. So there's so many possibilities there. But then from there, you can submit the cards to the company, but you can also just publish your own content. And so we call that kind of AI-based mini games, will be the first version of this, where you can take a card or a deck of cards, 13 cards or whatever, put together, build a deck, a small deck, and then you let the AI play that for you, and you publish it as almost PvE content, right? So we're a PvP game, that's our focus. But people like to take a break sometimes and just play some puzzles. And so you could publish your own puzzles, and it could just be funny meme-based content, and you just keep all the moves the same, and you just make a deck that's hilarious. Or you get in there, if you're a mad scientist, and tweak the functions and make a better version of a playable move deck if you want, or whatever it is, and then challenge the whole world to come play your puzzle. And we'll be able to integrate eventually leaderboards and bounties and stuff like that, where we could partner, for instance, with the Paragon DAO. We could build a series of puzzles for you guys and really everyone else. And we can kind of do a co-UA event where, maybe there's a card back for the DAO, and then there's, I don't know, a specific character or whatever, a variant, and you can win those exclusive things by ranking on the top 100 leaderboard for a series of 10 puzzles that we can build together with the guys at Paragon. And so there's so many options for working with creators or just publishing your own content. And so we think this is going to be a playground that opens up, honestly, unlimited possibilities. And if that does go well, we will expand the functionality to templates for games like Slay the Spire or even Battlegrounds. And there's a whole push that we can do there to open up creativity for you guys. And so I'll kind of wrap up by saying, and then we can do questions. But we're very passionate about building products that humans just love, right? And bringing joy to the world through gaming. We live in a crazy world, and sometimes we need an escape from it to a degree, and gaming can do that. And so we are setting out to build things that humans love, which is one, a super competitive product, a super competitive game, quick sessions, high dopamine, very exciting to watch, very exciting to stream, very exciting to play, but you can do it in 7 to 10 minutes in between a meal or whatever you're doing. And so that's number one. Number two, we want to bring back collecting and make it awesome again and allow people to experience the joys of landing a super rare card that they can hold on to or sell or whatever, right? And bring back a really meaningful collector experience. And then finally, we want to unleash you guys and all your creativity in making your own games and make it super easy to make a great game by building all that together. And we have future goals with our own kind of blockchain tech and such that will help support this creative endeavor, but that'll come from years from now. But yeah, I'll kind of wrap up by saying, we're excited to work with the Paragon DAO. We know that you guys, you have very high standards, I guess you'll say, for experiences, and you've kind of really only dived into one experience full time, and so we want to create a product for you guys that you guys are excited about. And so we're open to your feedback. Please jump in the Discord. If you're a KOL again and you want to, we have a kind of a special program that we're starting called the Creator Club, and you can actually join that now in advance of this campaign and kind of work with us on that if you want. So if you're a KOL, please reach out through Jake or the guys, and let us know. Come jump into Discord. If you jump into Discord and you are a KOL, just mention that and we'll get you in the private area. But yeah, we're excited to have you guys. Come check us out in a couple days. Stay tuned to Twitter for when we announce that the campaign's going live. It'll run at least a month. And then we'll have, some of those things. If you're also an investor, accredited investor, we have opportunities that'll be coming out over the next, 6 months to a year where you can join as well. So yeah, that's what I got for you guys. I'll pause for a second. I'm actually going to need to bounce in 4 minutes. So I probably have time for one question, and then Kevin can stay on to field the rest of them.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm absolutely mind blown here, team. Big thanks for doing this.